yes, unique circumstances that needed to be taken into account. I was away and the acting had an unfortunate situation.
Anyway, we'll make sure that we're much more careful about that in the future. So that's a point well taken. Second is, as Mr. O'Leary alluded to back when we met October, November last year, it was unanimity on the board that this was not a good place for a dog park. I think we were trying to send a message at that time. Find another location, we'll get behind it and support it. None of us here are against, at least I don't believe anyone's ever spoken against the dog park. The issue has been the location. And the board being unanimous here on that issue, I thought that message was broadcast. I think the petition, you read the petition, basically, there's some communication issue or something going on because there's some feeling that nothing is being done. And I find it surprising because I haven't heard of a public hearing being held in 30 days. I had no knowledge of that either. I don't know whether that's come out of this meeting or that was in the original meeting. Yes.
Yes, the last meeting, we ruled out a couple of other locations, and we finally came up with some costs associated with what had to be done. So we said, nothing's going on any longer with it, call for the hearing. Recreation has not had a vote on it, it was going to be voted on at our next meeting to decide what the committee thought we should do, which way we're leading to it, have the public hearing, get the input, and then have the final meeting, if we were here that night, and then the final meeting afterwards to make a decision. Mr. Grossman was still waiting on the Walmart issue, which was a big issue, had that happened. And that's where we were. We also had discussed with Mr. Wood to draw up some different designs, but if we decided to make it a dog park and make it a area in the front, we had some picnic tables, and we had also talked about cleaning it up. Rather than taking down the fence and doing a few small little things like that, Brian planted some shrubs and doing a couple little things. We didn't want to put any money into it until we made a decision on what was going to happen. And that decision was we were going to make it in 30 days.
Yes.
I just want to take exception to the statement that nothing's happened down there. The last meeting that I recall with the only person who would ever meet with me was Mr. Roberts and his wife. We were at Piccadilly Pub, we had an informal meeting there, and the last words I remember talking to Mr. Roberts about, and I said, we talked about the different issues, talking about the dog rules. He said to me that things have improved noticeably. They're not perfect, I would be the first to say that, but they've definitely improved. And to say that nothing has happened down there is just wrong. It's just not true.
I don't think that was important.
I don't believe that's what the petition said.
Well, that's what you said, that nothing
I'm
has
sorry.
gone on.
I think that there was a question about the progress associated with coming up with alternative plans.
Okay. That's also.
I've heard that things are better down in the park, clearly. That was not the issue.
I'd also like to know, when you all say that it's not a good place for a park, what specifically?
If you don't mind, I really think this belongs,
Okay, all right, you're right.
in my opinion, I believe
Okay.
our stand is to ask you not to get into, why it shouldn't happen, because then it winds up being the
Right.
selectmen make a decision on it, and I think it should be a public hearing. There are a lot of misstatements in the petition itself. I don't think this is the time to do it. I don't think it should have been handled this way. So but to say the town, the recreation doesn't have the jurisdiction of it, we do. We're given the jurisdiction by the selectmen years ago when they capped the landfill and gave it to recreation and said, do you want to use it for something? To say that it should be a soccer field, who up front, who in the back, who the petitioners have been to any of the recreation meetings to decide why it should or shouldn't be, or what the cost associated would be, or why it's not one now. Those things have been discussed at recreation meeting after recreation meeting. We probably spent as much time on this as the Bachelor Swan Pond issue. And that's the truth. I mean,
No one's given us any
that's
funding
right.
to do it.
And we've been down there, and we've walked it, and we've walked it, and we've walked it, and we've tried to come up with ways that it would work for everyone.
With no budget. We have no budget.
But I
Phil.
don't think that's,
I don't think that there's anyone that has no respect for the recreation, Neil Mullins and Art Grossman point, consider the town to be extremely lucky to have in our town. I disagree about is the part about the petition. If someone petitions the Board of Selectmen, they should have a right to be heard by the Board of Selectmen. I don't think us hearing petitions in and of itself is taking something away from the rec department. But people who petition the Board of Selectmen have a right to be heard. And not to hear them is really not fair to them. Now, are they right? Are they wrong? Are we pulling this away from you? I don't think we've done any of that. In fact, when the petition first came, the first decision we made was that we shouldn't hear the petition until rec has a chance as well to come back. So I really think that I can understand your frustration, your feelings. I don't believe, I know my point, and in fact, what I directly said at the time was that we should put that off until rec has a chance to come as well. And the idea is to not have the kind of misconceptions that you're afraid of. I agree. And our goal, we've set out some goals when we first talked about this. Everybody's been absolutely honest and expressed their fears and concerns about these issues. And I think it is a concern. But if someone petitions the selectmen have an obligation to hear that, in my view. Okay, and I just don't see it as us undermining you in any way. Okay, if we then decide to pull it away from you, you can determine that to be whatever it is. But certainly hearing petitions is not undermining the record. Yeah.
If I could,
Any other comments from the board? You want to start?
I guess what I'm relating to is, I think when the selectmen maybe open up a bad protocol, is that if 50 people go out and get they don't like the way the streets are being plowed, or that there are potholes, and they walk in and they hand it to the town administrator, and they ask you to hand it to the selectmen. What happened that evening, if you read it, and you do exactly what you did, if the policemen aren't happy, if somebody gets stopped by a policeman that might have been too strong, if they went into the library and they don't like the way the librarian spoke to them, and they come in and they get 50 signatures, and they hand it to the TA, who hands it to the selectmen, I don't think you would read it and say, oh, all right, I want the petitioners and I want Mrs. Minton. I want the petitioners and I want Dave Hammond. I want the petitioners and I want Chief Nolan now. I want the petitioners and I want those people here. I think the proper protocol would be hand it to the TA or hand it to whoever the liaison is. Could you get in touch with them and come back and let us know? And then if you determine that we should come before you, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. I think the way it happened, and not even to say that he should have had a scheduled meeting. The meeting was scheduled that night. You didn't know that I had a business meeting that night. You didn't know that he was out of town that night. All those things happened. And we canceled everything because we thought it was important enough to come here tonight because of the protocol and the way it happened. I don't think that's a proper thing to do. My son, 4th grade, read the paper, the transcript. He always reads the paper. And he wants me to buy him a dog or a cat, and I've been saying, no, no, no. He went, your granddaughter signed it. He wants a dog or a cat. He got a petition. He passed around a petition with a thing saying why he wants a dog or a cat. 50 people signed it. So I'm supposed to go get him a dog or a cat? I had all those petitioners come and say we're gonna do it. I mean, so I guess, it's good that he's reading, and it's good that he's, paying attention to this, but he got the petition. Your kid signed it, your granddaughter. You get the dog.
She is a dog.
So I guess the point is, though,
There's a far stretch between, first of all, this issue has been before the board. This is not something that has come up as many, many issues come before the town administrator who makes some decision. This has been before the board a number of times. Second is, as Phil said, we have an obligation to respond. It doesn't mean we have to make a decision, but we certainly need to allow these people to say their piece. And that's what it was scheduled for.
Yeah, if I could just speak to.
Mr. Bino, and then, I take it you're one of the petitioners? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to make no apology for how I felt, and I will address it because it's right here. Mr. Vino says he does not think the dog park should be in a residential neighborhood. I don't. I really do not think the dog park should impact any residents of the town whatsoever. Do I have an answer of where to put it? No, I really don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I've always been honest when I sit here, and I'm not going to change the thing. I don't know. I think the Walmart idea would be a great idea if you could get that over there. I I think that would be a fantastic idea. I'm not gonna comment on the petition because, you know, I sort of agree with everybody. You know, we do have to listen to everybody, and we're listening tonight. You know, 50 people is a large number of people to sign a petition. So I'm not upset. I'm not upset that we actually brought this forward tonight at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. I did hear that one of the, I'm going to use the word complaints for lack of a better term, is that none of the people opposed to the dog park will come to the meetings and talk and speak. Well, I can almost understand that to an extent, because there was an email, I'm told, around town a couple of weeks ago where they called the opponents of the dog park the enemies. I mean, I really wouldn't want to go into a meeting either where somebody was calling me an enemy in an email. I don't think that's a very conducive atmosphere to work together. And the last thing I'm going to touch on is the funding. The funding, if in fact we have to move it. I would be very hard pressed as a member of the Board of Selectmen to come up with any funding, and I'll tell you why. We're looking for an override to educate our children and run our town. And if we had to take tax dollars to move a dog park, I can be honest with you, I can't do it. And I just don't think it would be right. If somebody wanted to fund it, I think it's a great idea if you could redo Walmart or whatever. And this may not be popular. If we can't find an option, we close it. We cannot be inconveniencing the residents in that area.
Like you need the source of the email. Came out about
I
I don't have it. I was told this.
Mr. Vino, I don't believe it, but let's say it's true. That email came out 2 weeks ago. We've been meeting for months, and they've never shown up, not the last 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, well, I may be wrong on 2 weeks ago. I know it was in the last month.
I don't even believe it, but it's true.
Well,
Right.
I was just told this.
All right, let's hear from the petition. Is there a spokesperson?
I just want to make a couple of points. I'm Kristen Robichaud, I live at 5 Park Street, and you actually just made a couple of the points that I was going to make, but I do keep hearing references made to the fact that we haven't participated in the meetings, and I just want to say for me personally, I'm a nurse that works 3 to 11. I can't come to a meeting at 6 o'clock at night. It's very hard. It was hard for me to get here. I think we're all busy. We've all, canceled things so that we can come to meetings, but I do not have time to be meeting ad nauseum about this, to walk away every time with no resolution to it. That's where our frustration comes in, and I feel like we all feel like we've had no other alternative but to take another course of action and go to the Board of Selectmen to see if we can kind of affect some change, because I think we have given it a reasonable amount of time. We said 6 months ago that we would revisit, in 6 months, and we're still in the same place that we were. The issues are the same. Maybe they're a little bit better some days, but I can tell you this past weekend, it was very busy down there. I worked nights over the weekend, and I couldn't sleep during the day because of the noise. So it's a nuisance, and without getting into all of those details, we're done. We want some sort of resolution, and it's not about hating dogs or dog owners, but enough is enough. It's too much of an impact on our daily lives, and to be quite honest with you, we're just exhausted of this whole process.
Is someone over there? Name and address?
Scott Hill, 20 Aspen Road. Can you guys refresh my memory when I'm done, what we voted on at town meeting? I thought it was to keep the park open and leave it in the control of Park and Rec.
The last town meeting, what it was there was a petition to close the dog park.
Yeah.
Okay, and it was passed over, which means what we were saying was, it's not, to vote to close the dog park. The dog park isn't even recognized as that.
It's been printed on
Pass
town
over,
maps.
which isn't the same as saying we support the town meeting did not support the dog park, okay, nor did it close the dog park. We passed over the measure. Didn't deal with it.
We took no action.
And we did so because the idea was the selectmen had gone to the rec had put together an ad hoc committee, and the decision really was to give the ad hoc committee some time to come up with some resolution.